Good morning, early game crew. It's Watch the Tape Tuesday. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. No Jen Jensen today. We watch the tape. Before we get to that, Preston, how much did you get to watch the tape of Lions-Ravens last night?
Goose eggs, 0.
No!
Goose eggs, 0, man. You know what? And I feel really bad because that's a primetime game. That's a possible Super Bowl matchup. Mm-hmm. That's a big time game. And as I'm looking at the score, I so bad I don't even really know what happened. Give me a quick down and dirty on the narrative.
Okay, quick down and dirty. The Lions ran the ball. Dan Campbell looked into his locker room last night before they went out on the field, and he said, "Fellas, I got only one instruction for you.
Run the ball."
And they did. And they did it really well with like 2 rookie guards, too. So they ran the ball up and down the field. Lamar Jackson was Lamar Jackson. It's back and forth. We have a tie game going into the fourth quarter. The Lions score a touchdown. Or I guess, no, it was a tie game going into the fourth quarter. Lions score a touchdown. Derrick Henry then fumbles the ball on the very next play. Lions end up making it. They don't score on that. Somehow don't get a field goal out of it. So the Ravens get redemption. And then ultimately the Lions score again late to put it out of hand. But it was back and forth. It was really back and forth with a lot of high playmaking stuff in there.
I mean, I'm just watching this, and just to make a quick relation to what we've been talking about, the Ravens got stopped on 4th down on a goal line stand, and they have
did.
2 of the best weapons possible in NFL football. How does that relate to the Gamecocks? Because guess what? We also had a first down on the 2-yard line, and we didn't give ourselves a chance to get stopped. But I guess what I'm saying is if Derrick Henry can get stopped, and Lamar Jackson can also get stopped, and the tight end, I forget the tight end's name.
Mark Andrews.
And Mark Andrews can get stopped. I guess anybody can get it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's not just a college thing. Everybody has trouble scoring when the spots are condensed.
Oh, and you know when the Ravens don't score the goal line, they complain as well. You have Derrick Henry back there giving the ball. They did.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
And he got stopped.
And there's not going to be anybody saying, well, you know, if you can't score with Derrick Henry on the 2, you don't deserve to win. It's like, hey man, the NFL's tough. I'm not making the same comparison. I'm just saying that things happen in football games. The Derrick Henry fumbling thing, is that becoming a thing?
It's a thing. Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, it's been a thing.
Oh,
it's been a thing.
Because you know what?
He's a little loose with the rock.
Because guess what? You can't have it all.
You can't have it all.
You can't be 6'5", 240, run 20 miles per hour, chisel like a brick.
No.
There's got to be some fatal flaw.
Even Superman had kryptonite.
You got to have some kryptonite. You can't just have everything.
His is hold on to the gosh darn football.
Okay, all right.
That's exactly what it is for him.
Okay.
I mean, it got punched. Aiden Hutchinson just punched that thing out at a pivotal
Shout out
moment.
to Aiden Hutchinson. Back.
Had a great game. Aiden Hutchinson was awesome.
Really fun player to watch.
Lions had 7 sacks. Didn't give up any. And then also there was a play where it was I think it was the Lions' first touchdown. Jared Goff hands the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who then takes a couple steps, and then pitches it out to Jahmyr Gibbs. It was maybe one of the most beautifully designed plays I've ever seen in football.
The spirit of Ben Johnson still lives?
The spirit of Ben Johnson still lives. See, the new Lions offensive coordinator was like, you know what? I'm not going to go too far away from what that guy did because...
Do we have a connection here about the new All-C maybe not straying away from what the old guy did? I
mean, Shane told us they run the same plays, so something else is missing. Whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad I messed that one. I might have to go back and watch a condensed version of that game because those are 2 really fun teams. And I don't really have a dog in the fight, even though shout out to Travell Wharton, the O-line coach for the Ravens. I might have to go back and check that out.
Oh, you're going to have to. I made the executive decision. Once it got 21-21 late in the third quarter, I was like, all right, we're doing this.
I got to see this to the end.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a tough spot because you know 6 o'clock is looming.
Yeah, and that alarm going off at 4 is sooner than I think. But I'm like, these may be my two favorite teams to watch. Just like as a football lover, these are maybe my top two favorite teams to watch.
I can absolutely see that.
And I was like, you don't get them on the field often. Had to do it. So it was a fantastic Monday Night Football game last night. Earlier in the day yesterday, when making a decision to watch this or go to bed was not a thing because I did it when I went home, when I left here yesterday, rewatching the game, watching the tape, Missouri, South Carolina. Some things held true. Some things maybe better than I remembered. Some things worse. And I want to start off with one of them. You remember the first false start in the game?
Mm-hmm.
After a TV timeout.
And I know that, that's a general thing that nobody likes, but that's one of your football pet peeves. That's one of your football icks.
Yes. We went over that over the summer a little bit, like the
very
football
high on the
icks.
list, right?
That I think I recall that one too, is having an operational penalty after a TV timeout.
Mm-hmm.
That should be when that does not happen. And this is game 4. And then, if we want to add something to the folder of game of inches, the pass to Mazio Bennett that fell just a little incomplete. If Lenoris maybe has an extra split second or puts maybe just a little bit more air into that ball, Mazio Bennett runs under it and he's walking in.
Yeah, and that's
a big play.
Again, that's the game of football. A split an inch further, a split second longer. I guess if I was to jump the gun and put my Garnet glasses on, that was Lenoris standing in the pocket, delivering the ball. It was about as good a throw you can make under that pressurized situation, and he stood there and he delivered. And so if that's a part of the game he's been working on, okay. Also, if you watch that game of inches, Mazio just a slight bit didn't keep running, just a little bit.
You gotta put your foot on the pedal to the floor the entire
just a little bit. Like, he wasn't running in red, right? He was running, and then I'm not saying he didn't stop running, but there's a difference between running and running. And he needed to turn. He needed to turn the next gear to really get to the ball, and you just see that little split second there. It didn't happen.
Another thing that I noticed: Lenoris Sellers and play action bootlegs are money on first down. And I didn't just notice that watching the tape. An old man versus analytics here in a couple of segments. The numbers are astonishing on how good those plays were.
And now you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't need to have 20 years of NFL experience. After 4 games, if you see something is working, I would imagine that you keep coming back to it.
We need more of it.
You need to do it again and again and again. You see it's consistently working. It's the first play they ran against Virginia Tech on the maybe the most perfect drive of the season. Same thing they did against Vanderbilt on the first drive of the season of the game. The play action, it seems to be, as opposed to what we thought maybe would be a RPO type or RLP. Shout out to Ray.
That's right.
All right.
Inventor.
This is a play action team, which is fine. But when you commit to that, you have to go all the way, because only when you commit can all the layers open up that are available to you by being a play action type of team.
And who knows, if teams start overplaying and not biting on the fakes, eventually you can keep running the play and then actually hand the ball off.
Actually run the ball.
Yeah, in a lighter box, in a more advantageous situation.
Right, because there's going to come a spot where they say, oh, man, don't worry about it because it's only play action. They're not running. And then guess what? Whoop.
Oh, 15 yards.
Right.
Because you weren't prepared for it. Because you overloaded on one side of the ball. Because you thought he was moving back the other way. Wrote down, microcosm city. You score a touchdown. You make a big play. Lenoris drops that ball in the bucket to Vandrevius Jacobs. One of the best throws you'll see from a quarterback in college football this year. What happens on the ensuing kickoff?
Kicked it out of bounds.
It's kicked out of bounds. And Missouri gets the ball at the 40. If you want a way to sum up the game for South Carolina, now after our rewatch, that was the play where I'm like, this sums it up. If you need a summary, I felt like that was it on that play right there. Also, Josiah Trotter's a madman. I don't know if out of all the talk that when we were giving props yesterday to Missouri, maybe we didn't give enough to Josiah Trotter.
I'm not, without looking at because I had it written down yesterday. Was it 11 tackles he had?
I think so.
Yeah.
He broke double digits.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down on the Ahmad Hardy his biggest broken tackle of the game, where he basically tells Sean Murphy to meet me at the line.
Yeah. It was old
We'll see
school.
what's up.
It was old school, like Oklahoma type drill. Like
It was, yeah.
You, me, in the hole, what's up?
What's up? Ahmad Hardy showed what's up.
Yeah. That's one that when you're in the film room, you know that play is coming, you kind of get lower in your seat. You hope the coach doesn't necessarily bring that up because everybody saw it. Maybe everybody didn't see it during the game, but you know it happened. And so it's coming around. The coach is going through film, and you're like, oh, man, here comes the play where he got me. And you get nervous.
Oh, and it's not going to be the last time he sees it, too, because Ahmad Hardy wasn't on three's top 10 Heisman straw poll, which is astonishing to me because, 9 of those players were quarterbacks. And let's be honest, quarterback play in college football does not warrant having 9 on that list. Mm-hmm. But Ahmad Hardy will get himself there. And once he does, that play is going to be on the highlight reel.
So after watching the tape, watch the tape Tuesday, generally you come up with a prevailing feeling. Obviously, some things good, some things bad. But overall, you felt better or worse after watching the tape on Tuesday?
Better about Lenoris in the passing game. Worse on tackling. The last thing I wrote down, tackling is worse than I remembered. The tackling was really, really bad. And it wasn't just Ahmad Hardy. They couldn't tackle Jamal Roberts.
No, they couldn't.
The play Jamal Roberts scores, they couldn't tackle him. And it made me think that maybe the tackling problem might be a little worse than we anticipated after the Vanderbilt game. That was kind of my prevailing thought. I don't know if you came away with anything different, but that's what I left the rewatch thinking.
That's interesting. I was just writing that down. I'll go back and check it out because when I was going through the game, I guess I had that sort of chalked up. I didn't really think of that. I feel bad about the penalties, but I think I feel worse about the penalties when they're put in conjunction with the pattern that has emerged over the season. It wasn't an isolated incident. Como was fine as an environment. I mean, they were rocking, yes.
They brought it.
But, I mean, come on.
Are they going to bring it? Did they bring it like LSU's going to bring it?
That's what I'm saying.
Like Texas A&M's going to bring it?
It's fine as an environment. And they did their best. But their best is not the best that we'll see and hear. And so when you see those false starts, you see those things that can absolutely be controlled, whether that's through the offensive line or through the quarterback or through the coordinator or whatever, that is a situation that needs to be fixed immediately.
Yeah, or else it's going to be
right, because we've already proven that our offense is not capable of getting first and 15s. But and by the way, most offenses aren't.
Yeah, most. Even your best ones are not. I mean, I even watched a little bit of Oregon State yesterday too, just because I was like, "What's up with?" I'm not watched a full Oregon game. Let me see what's up with Oregon. And guess what? Stalled out most of their drives in the first half. It was a 14-7 game till late in the first half. They tacked on a touchdown and then they poured it on in the second half. Penalties and dumb plays.
Little foreshadowing here. Team Crush Tuesday.
Oh, I like it. I love them, man. I love them. And I think a lot of it has to do with the head coach. I'm a big Dan Lanning believer, big Dan Lanning guy here. But Dante Moore is the truth. You know what's crazy? I want to say it right now. Hottest take in college football that I have. Oregon got a quarterback upgrade. They lost Dylan Gabriel, who was a Heisman finalist. Dante Moore might be better. He's becoming the prince that was promised. Because remember, in that highly touted quarterback class of, I believe, 2023 or 22, that had Arch Manning as the number 1 player, Nico Iamaleava number 2, Jackson Arnold, Dante Moore. Dante Moore is not only clearly the best one, he's one of the best ones by far. Mm-hmm. Him and Lenoris have been the best 2 guys in that class. Mm-hmm. It's pretty remarkable to watch. So if you haven't watched Oregon this year, you have a good chance to on Saturday night because they're playing Penn State.
That's a big one.
That is 6'2", 310 plus. It's a big one.
Yeah, that's as big as it gets.
Yeah, it's as big as it gets in this sport. We'll continue our discussion from the game on Saturday. This time, we're putting the Garnet glasses on. That's next.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. But you don't only have to play football. You can use other sports, and playing on Underdog is easy. You just pick whether your favorite players will go higher on stats like touchdowns, receiver yards, interceptions, or more. But today, I'm going with points, and I'm going to go with Asia Wilson to go higher than 24.5 points. That's Asia Wilson and the Aces to go higher than 24.5 points. Download the app today and sign up with Early Game with promo code Early Game to score $50 in bonus funds when you play the first $5. That's promo code Early Game. Millions of fans have won billions of making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with, thankfully, no accidents to report so far this morning. So let's keep that up, meaning traffic, for the most part, pretty clear here in the Midlands this morning. So that's a plus when it comes to weather. 64 degrees right now in the second day of fall. Relative humidity at 87%. But it will not feel like fall, which is why I'm wearing shorts and a Hawaiian shirt. Anytime you take your second straight loss to start the SEC season, it can be tough to find silver linings, especially in the manner in which you lost this recent game. A very avoidable loss. But that's not how we look at things in the Garnet Glasses segment. And that's what we have right now. So time to take them out of the case. If they're cracked, if you have destroyed them, if you threw them against a wall and the lens popped out, well, it's time to grab that lens, dust it off, and put it right back in, because right now we're putting that mess on.
And you have to put them on now, because guess what? It's a long season ahead of you. And if you don't look for the things that are garnet tinged, it's going to be very, very difficult to get through the season. And also, guess what? Let me start off. Garnet Glasses, got a get-back game right here coming up. You could not have prescribed a better game coming into Williams-Brice than the lowly, I would say, and you would definitely say,
been beating that drum,
the worst team in the SEC coming into your stadium for a get-back game. So for my Garnet Glasses, hello, Kentucky.
Opportunity arises. The opportunity is there. This is a game in which you're going to be favored despite how you have looked in the last two games.
And I believe I saw by a touchdown.
A full touchdown. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Hard not to take that.
This is a golden opportunity to get yourself right, get back on the horse, and move forward. Because we could be in a different part of the schedule here, and we could have some Bears coming into we could have Mateer in the Sooners, or we could have Kalen DeBoer and the newly rebuilt Bama boys coming back. So this is, as bad as it is, this is about the best scenario that you could ask for.
It absolutely is. There is not a better, outside of Coastal Carolina left on the schedule, not a better opponent to have coming in to Williams-Brice Stadium that is on that schedule.
So that's my first
the Kentucky Wildcats. Mine's the passing game.
Okay.
Because Lenora, especially upon rewatch on Watch the Tape Tuesday, buddy, there were some throws, like big boy, capital T, throws made in that game. Some stuff that you can't teach, some stuff that reminds you that your separator is number 16. And he's going to have to be that way going forward for the rest of the season, too. 302 passing yards, I understand. Not good. It should be enough to win the game. And the fact that it was not enough to win the game, the fact that you had 300-plus passing yards and finished the game under 300 total yards is a pretty damning indictment as to what happened in Como on Saturday. But, again, not what we're doing in this segment. 302 passing yards, completing 64% of his passes. There were some throws there that still make him the best quarterback option in the NFL draft coming up this year.
Let's stay here. And put my goggles on. We were searching. We were looking. Did we find another wide receiver? You said it was going to be the game where somebody else not named Nick was going to need to step up. And Vendrevious Jacobs consistently not only caught balls, but more important than catching balls, got himself open enough to catch balls.
Yes.
And I think that is very important for the squad, because we have not seen this to this game. So the Garnet Glasses is that there seems to be a possible alternate receiver, another receiver, or another receiver that's indicating that there are other possible options. Because if we're going to be a team who it looks like we're going to have to rely on throw the ball, you're going to need to be able to throw to more than one person.
You got to spread it around.
You're going to have to, because that's where it looks like the success path is for this squad. Regardless of what you thought you were going to be, or who you thought you were, or who you hoped you were, that's not you.
It ain't. We found out after 4 games. It ain't. But this might be it. Look, I am a big subscriber to the Mike Leach approach of what balance truly is. Because he used to say all the time that if you just run the ball 50% of the time and throw the ball 50% of the time, you're 50% stupid. He said true balance is making sure 9 to 10 guys are catching the ball or touching the ball, and you have to account for those 9, 10 guys. He's like, that's what I think balance is. And I've always thought, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Because if you line up 3 or 4 receivers, you have to account for all of them, because if there's one that's not catching the ball, there's one you can sleep on a little bit. Because you can say, maybe there's a reason that guy's not catching the ball. There's a reason they're not throwing it his way. We don't have to worry about his route as much. We need to focus on where these two are going, or where just this one player is going. And I think that's what Vanderbilt did with Nick Harbor, was we're going to worry about this guy. You guys can have yours. We're not going to let him crack us on the head over the top with a 64-yard touchdown. And they bracketed him. They focused in heavily on him. Safeties provided a lot of help. And you just weren't able to make the throws in the second half or the plays in the second half to be able to get yourself back in that game. Mm-hmm. Vandrevius Jacobs stepping up was huge for this team. And it's not just that he got himself open, Preston Thorne. That first touchdown was what you would call a contested catch. Because, I will say, Mizzou's defensive backs did not play very well in the game. They had some communication lapses, too, that led to some players being really open. However, on that play, he was there. The Missouri defensive back was there, and I would even say was interfering with him a little bit. Lenoris dropped that in the only place where he could throw that ball. That ball maybe had like 2 or 3 inches of margin for error, and it went to the right spot. And Vandrevius Jacobs fought through contact, caught that ball. It was big.
Yeah, that is extremely important, again, because of all the things that we heard in the preseason about the wide receivers. Now, obviously, this is Garnet Glass's segment, so this is what we're looking at. Because if my glasses, if they clean them off, or if they fell off, I would say, well, where's everybody else? We're gonna need you.
When one lens falls out, now it becomes a Garnet monocle.
Yeah. Through my other eye, the other eye that's a little bit more clear. Maybe it's not as Garnet tint. And I'm looking at this a little more clear. I'm going to say, hey, Mazio, what's up? Brian Rowe, it's time for you to not be a freshman anymore, right? All of those things are coming on. But with that being said, I do think maybe seeing Vandrevius step up. Is it, really quick, pronunciation guide, Dravius?
I've heard Vandrevius.
Okay.
But easier, Dre, I guess. Okay. They do refer to him as Dre Jacobs.
Gotcha.
So that is sometimes when I feel in doubt and not as frisky. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say it with full confidence. Dre Jacobs.
Hopefully we'll be saying that a lot.
Hopefully. And my last one, too, there wasn't much to be excited about on defense because of, well, the missed tackles thing. But if Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy is healthy, he was your best defensive player. He was everywhere. He had a really, really good game, despite having to leave early.
Yeah, and that's going to be something you see. One of the big things that was encouraging to me was about, I believe one time during the watch party, they said, hey, we're going to need to get the big man out because he had busted his hump from sideline to sideline.
Yep.
I believe he dove on the sideline, and you can see his pants halfway falling off. His shirt was up. It was like, big man needs to get out. Big man needs a breather.
He needs a breather, maybe the oxygen tank. I don't know. He needs something.
Yeah, but he played well. I didn't see I'm going to go back and look at his grade here. But more so than that, and it is. I understand. It's very difficult to think an interior D lineman played well when you gave up 285 yards running. However, he did as far as that is concerned.
And maybe his exit from the game might have had something to do with it a little bit.
Correct.
That could be an influence thing or an impact thing. Him not being in the game for the rest of it, and what Missouri ended up doing on the ground, especially in that second half. But it's time to look at this game, take the Garnet glasses off, and look at it through the numbers, because Old Man versus Analytics is next. Honestly, it's been an incredible response since the opening for the registration of Pro Swings Fall League. Because, look, Pro Swings Golf Zone simulators are cool enough on their own. It's a fantastic place to go, whether it's the Chapin location or the Forest Acres location, just to go get some swings in, play on different courses, test out your golf game, grow it. But now you can compete. And everyone loves a little competition because the Fall League spots are still available because the first week doesn't kick off until the week of September 29th. 12 weeks of league play at either location, Forest Acres or the Chapin location, and any time or dedicated league nights. Just requires some advanced booking required per week. So don't wait. Registration is closing soon. Again, it starts on the 29th, so it's closing soon. Give them a call, 803-528-1617. Again, 803-528-1617, and inquire about Pro Swings Fall League today. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with some good news. And that good news is that seemingly no accidents are causing traffic backups this morning. Looking pretty clear on the roadways. Obviously, still some long-term road construction on certain spots. But other than that, we're looking good to go so far this morning. So let's keep that up. And then in terms of weather here on the second day of quote-unquote fall, high of 88, a low of 63. So a little bit better than yesterday. Thunderstorms expected this weekend, though. Oh, it's time to get really nerdy. It's time to take the numbers and draw some conclusions on Watch the Tape Tuesday. Before we get to that, Lee on the Firehouse Subs text line says, when I rewatch it, because it's Watch the Tape Tuesday.
That's correct.
He said, I noticed it looks like instead of tackling, the defense is trying to strip the ball, hence why they're able to brush you off so easy. It was nice to see a couple throws to tight ends, and what's going on with Mazio.
All great questions, all solid issues. We will be talking tackling during Professor P at 7:30, so we will go back to tackling technique. But just to answer that right here and right now, that's the thing. Because the upside is that you get it, that you make a turnover. The bad side is that they break tackles, and you'll see that across football. It is endemic, and staffs are preaching that. The quick issue is, to just address it, most staffs are teaching to secure the tackle first before you attempt to strip, or be the second person on the tackle before you strip, not to just coming in and doing the peanut punch. And that's the thing that gets lost in translation. Even when it was Peanut doing it, he would often be coming in and finishing off the Urlacher tackle or the Lance Briggs tackle. And he would come in and finish. It would be an assist. And what you'll see now is just a punch. But that's a longer story, but great observation.
Now when it comes time to break down the numbers, I've saved the most impressive one for first, not last. Lenore Sellers, this is on play action passes alone. 7 for 8, 126 yards. Pro Football Focus did the math, so I didn't have to. That's 15.8 yards per attempt on an average depth of target, ADOT, if you will, of 13.4. This is where the offense's bread is buttered, even when the running game is non-existent.
Do it more. It's a really simple solution. If it works, you do it more. Same thing like I always love talking about food, and this gives me more of opportunity. If you had a restaurant and you looked and you saw one thing was selling like hotcakes, make more hotcakes.
Make more. Order more.
Yeah, you need to make more of that. All this other stuff on the menu that's not selling, don't buy it anymore. You don't need that.
It's cool to take it off the menu, because no one's going to notice.
No one notices.
No one's ordering
No one's coming there for that. So if that's what the play action game is looking like, there's a whole realm of offense. I've said before, my favorite offense, I think, ever, honestly, was Indianapolis Colts circa Peyton Manning, Edge, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark. Reggie Wayne, I love that. And I didn't like the team. I just loved that offense because it was all based on the same. Every play looked the same until it wasn't.
Yep.
Right? So there's a whole plethora of offenses that can be based on play action or the action of play action. I think that's probably where we need to go.
You want to know one of my hottest football takes? You don't have to run the ball well to do good play action. And the biggest miss, I think, in football is you need to be able to run the ball well so you can do play action. When in theory, I feel like most middle linebackers are always taught when you see the ball's getting ready to get handed off, you cheat up a little bit.
Yeah, it's like Pavlov's. It's like a dog. You see it.
Whether or not that running back has 5 carries for negative
Does
2
not
yards
matter.
or not, it does not matter.
And all you're trying to do is just manipulate them out of space. So if you can just get them to take 2 or 3 steps in the wrong direction, and then you can come back behind them with a tight end or a drag or whatever the case is, it can always work. And I believe, I know there's some really dorky numbers on why play action should always be a part of your game plan.
Yeah, regardless if you are running the ball well or not. And if I need much more proof of this theory, I have Saturday night to back me up because you were not running the ball at all, and it didn't matter. 12 Gamecocks, different Gamecocks, missed tackles. The team tackling was actually worse than we remembered. 12 different individuals were credited with at least 1 missed tackle.
Yeah, and that feels right. That feels right when you look at it. Felt like guys were bouncing off. It felt like there weren't people. It felt like there were multiple missed tackles per on some plays. And even though the high I heard, I know Pro PFF had 16. And I believe Gamecock Central got up to 21. It felt like more. If you told me they had 40 missed tackles, I would have been like, yeah, probably. So even the numbers don't feel as if how many it felt like they actually had.
Vandrevius Jacobs and Brian Rowe Jr. combined to account for 7 first downs. You'll need those non-harbor receivers consistently to just give yourself a chance to win in big games moving forward.
Yeah, and so the idea, again, if we're just assuming that the run game after 4 games is not going to be what's going to be your converter, you're going to need those guys on late downs to get themselves open, either A, get to the sticks, or B, be able to throw it short, and they can do some yak stuff and get past the sticks. And that's what those dudes in particular, that's supposed to be the strengths of their games.
That is kind of my biggest thing with receiving is you don't have to be Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or anything like that and put up ridiculous numbers. Can you move the chains? Can I throw it to you on 2nd and 7 and for you to be able to move the chains and extend drives?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure-handed enough to help me move the ball up and down the field? That's my biggest thing with receivers. All right, another one, because we talked about the offensive line a lot. This is another one that it was, well, after watching the tape, this matched what my eyes saw. Josiah Thompson and Boaz Stanley combined to allow 10 pressures between the two of them. 10 quarterback pressures as a team given up will not give you a chance to win, let alone from 2 players.
And what's the big issue with that? It's not that it's just 2 players. It's that one is your freshman All-American who doesn't feel as if he's moving forward. Maybe he's battling some injury issues. We're not sure. We'll see how that's possibly working. But he doesn't seem like he's progressing the way we hoped he would. And then 2 is your 5th or 6th year transfer guy that was supposed to come in and be an anchor for the offensive line, and he has not been that. And so those are 2 distinct different issues. Maybe both of them go to development, but one may be evaluation in Boaz, and the other one might be development in Josiah. But those are 2 dudes you were counting on.
Yeah, and that it did not do you any favors on Saturday night. That's why the sack total might have been what it was.
And also Boaz, yes, he was playing guard, but his background is playing all the positions. That's one of the things that was so appealing to him about him being in the portal. And to this point, he has not performed. Very simply.
Yeah. And he needs to be better. I mean, if you are going to get to 7-8 wins, you need him to be better.
I think that's blatantly obvious.
Yeah. Or if you want to have games that aren't showing up in the negative in the rushing total, that is how you do it, is with improvement from those guys right there. All right. That was Old Man versus Analytics. But coming up next, it's time for 50 ways to lose a ball game. Because this weekend, we got creative. And we'll tell you who got the most creative in terms of finding ways to lose games coming up next on the early game. One of the worst feelings is walking through your house, stepping on something on your carpet, and realizing that feeling is like gummy, matted down mess. Nobody wants that at all. But if you're like me, the stains can be all removed from your carpets and the gumminess and mattiness can be removed if you're like me and use Zero Res. Go ahead and give Zero Res a call today or hit them up online and schedule. It's pretty easy to do at ZeroResColumbia.com and take advantage of the zero water technology. It's what creates a clean and healthy home. And this month, because we still have about a week and a half or so this month left, the more you clean, the more you can save. 3 rooms for $119, 4 rooms for $144, and 5 for just $169. Save up to $30. Schedule Zero Res today and take care of those spots on your carpet that, again, might feel gummy or matted down. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com. Football's a funny game because there's more than one way to mess it up. And so far, we've found a few interesting ways to be able to mess up a football game, like aura farming.
Remember that?
I think that's my favorite one so far. That might be my favorite one. But sometimes you can play a really good football game and still find a way to lose it, which is why we do this segment in honor of the great Paul Simon. 50 ways to lose a football game, and I think I can't start off with a better one than Arkansas, which, just to give you some context, this is a football team that, there we go, a football team that led most of the game. They're up 28-10, Preston Thorne. 28-10 on Memphis, on the road, running the ball well. Now, Memphis was able to run the ball well on them, but they were seemingly in control. You know all it took? 2 interceptions, a fumble. But, hey, in the last 2 minutes of the game, you had a chance to take the lead. You were deep in Memphis territory. All you got to do is just milk the clock and settle for a field goal, which Missouri's got a decent, or not Missouri, Arkansas is a decent special teams unit. And so they're handing the ball up the middle. They're playing it safe. So you think until a Memphis, I keep saying Missouri because we said it all week and it's stuck in my head. A Memphis linebacker flies in and peanut punches that thing out about, and this is a nice little overlap here on the Venn diagram, 50 ways to lose a football game and game of inches.
And cooked.
And cooked. Oh, we have a 3-circle Venn diagram right here. Cooked, game of inches, 50 ways to lose a ball game. Because the Arkansas running back was maybe 3 or 4 inches from the ground when that thing got popped out. But he was clearly...
He wasn't,
clearly not down.
He was not down. But if not for an instant replay, it could have went either way, right? And if there wasn't an instant replay, somebody could have ruled them down, but it clearly showed. And that's why this game is really important, because it's not only 50 ways to lose a ball game. It might be 50 ways to get fired.
Yeah.
It might be 50 ways to have a renowned dirtbag become your new coach, and Bobby Petrino waiting in the wings.
Oh, he's salivating. The man is the coaching Grim Reaper. He is just waiting. He is waiting for that Pete Thamel tweet. That man after that game went to the locker room while Sam Pittman's addressing the team, pulls his phone out, goes to Twitter, and finds Pete Thamel's account and just turn notifications on.
Yeah.
Just waiting for
a fascinating story that's developing, for sure.
Another way to lose a football game, how about sacrificing your quarterback publicly? Because when Jackson Arnold had his little homecoming revenge game against Oklahoma, Auburn sacrificed him to the Wolves. Mm-hmm. He got sacked 10 times.
Yeah, and think about this, because last segment we just said that Josiah and Boaz had 10 pressures.
And we said that was bad.
We said that was bad.
Like 10 pressures for a game is bad. Oklahoma got to Jackson Arnold and sacked him 10 times, including the R. Mason Thomas, not your Mason, not my Mason, R. Mason Thomas, sacked Jackson Arnold in the end zone for the safety that sealed the deal in that game.
But even with 10 sacks, even with the safety, that's not the real story of the game.
No.
They tried to run an old Little Giants type play. And it worked.
It worked. Auburn got duped. And the officials not knowing the rule, which, granted, I did not know that was a specific rule, that you can't manipulate the defense on your substitution pattern.
To be clear, I think during our game we got called for 12-minute substitute. Either this was last. I think it was
Vanderbilt.
This week.
I think Vanderbilt.
That was Vanderbilt. Yeah. Okay. So it happens. You can. The rule is you cannot break the huddle with 12 men. The addendum to that rule is you can't act as if you're substituting and then not substitute. This is a trick play that has been used or attempted to be used in high school for years. You walk like you're going off the sideline, you stand on the sideline, or the old sneak a guy on at the last minute. This is a thing that I just can't believe that whoever called that had the gall to say, now.
Ben Arbuckle.
Ben Arbuckle had the gall to say, no, this is the time. And they did it, and it worked.
Isaiah Satania was wide open. And I have conflicting feelings on this, too. I think the rule is stupid because it's hard to judge intent. Like, you could break the huddle, and a guy could be running fast to the sideline just so he can get to his spot, because in modern-day college football, there are plenty of offenses where guys hug the boundary.
I.e. Tennessee,
Mississippi State.
Which is my argument for why, hey, man, you can't let it – somebody needs to have eyes on anybody that's on the field.
Yes.
That's my argument for that, because there are teams that run as they play the whole 53 in the third. Mm-hmm. So you need to be making sure that somebody has eyes on them. So they fell asleep. Again, to quote the great Brad Lowen, tell me the rules so I can bend the hell out of them.
And that's what Oklahoma did. They bent the hell out of them. And part of my thought is, okay, yeah, it is a rule, so you missed the call there, right? But also, why is the official's job to let Auburn know that there's 11 men on the field and that you left a guy open? Because you know what, if I'm an Oklahoma fan, the official says, hey, there's a guy over here, I'm going to be pretty mad, right? But they didn't call it. They fell for it, and that's the first time I've seen that pulled off in a football game. Because watching the play, I'm like, how is he that wide open? Satania just ran a straight line into the end zone. Easiest touchdown pass ever.
Yeah, that's like I said, man, Little Giants. Statue of Liberty, the annexation of Puerto Rico. Put it right there with them. That's the type of play that was, man. They pulled it off in a Major League SEC game. And at a crunch time.
Touchdown that was worth 6, the extra point worth 1. Guess what? They won by 7 points. It turned out to make a difference. That is certainly one way to lose a football game. South Carolina lost it a different way. We'll answer the question, what is complimentary football? That's next.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studio, I'm Elijah Campbell with some fantastic news. And that fantastic news is that there are no accidents causing blockages on the roadways. So seemingly in a much better traffic spot than we are most mornings at this hour. So far, so good. Let's keep that up. In terms of weather, we are about 63 degrees right now, a high of 88. And the 63 degrees that it is right now is the low. So it's only going to get warmer from here. Tomorrow, we're going to be a high of 90. And on Thursday, temperatures will dip over the weekend. Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. And we're doing that thing. That thing, as Lauren Hill referred to, is watching the tape. Because that's Watch the Tape Tuesday. And not only watch the tape, we hear what players had to think after the game. Gerald Kilgore brought up something interesting. And it's something that I have heard in the football lexicon for my entire life, as long as I have been a lover of football, playing Madden, playing NCAA, watching games on TV, and then growing into my career of being somebody who covers the game for a living, I still hear this same phrase every single time. I think I know what it means. Preston Thorne is laughing because maybe he knows what it means. But this is kind of what Gerald Kilgore chalked Saturday up to whenever he was evaluating the 29-20 loss in Como.
I just say continue to keep trying to play complementary football. That's one thing that we preach, and I don't think that we really have done a great job of that so far. We have the keys, we have the players, we have the guys. That's not the case. That's not the issue. We just got to continue to keep just pressing hard and do what we do during the week. Just be consistent. Just had too many penalties tonight, things like that, things that we're not usually doing. And when you don't do things that you usually do, then you don't get the outcome that you want. So we definitely had a team. That's not the question, but just got to put it together.
Complementary football. Now I feel like I'm listening to the song "In Bloom" by Nirvana because, yes, I am the one who likes all our pretty songs, I like to sing along, but I don't know what it means when you say it, right? So this is where I'm at right now. Complimentary football, because I don't know what it means. That's how I feel whenever I hear Joe Kilgore sometimes say, we're not playing complimentary football. Yeah. I think I know what it means. But in the context of this football game, is that what kept South Carolina from being able to pull out that win?
No, and I think it's a catchy phrase that I don't think you can just sort of throw it out there. And this is, I think, there's a lot of football phrases like that. Let me throw complimentary. Let me go back to my zone of area of expertise. If I was to say cookies, and you would say
milk.
If I was to say spaghetti, and you would say.
If it's not meatballs, then I'm really curious what you have.
Exactly, right? So if I was to say peanut butter and
jelly.
There you go. That's complimentary. What it means is these two things go together in general. Now, there could be some outliers here, but complementary football means that all three phases of the game are planning and working in the same direction. So, for instance, if you have a team that is, especially offensively, that tends to drive the train a little bit. So, for instance, if you're saying, hey, we are going to be a team that runs the ball, all right, we're going to take up a lot of possession. That is the game plan for this game. So, on third downs, defensively, we need to be trying to get off the field. Or flip side on defense, hey, we're going to be a bend but don't break type of defense. Maybe they will be on the field a long time. So when we get the ball offensively, you may not have enough time. You need to be trying to quick strike because they might win the time of possession battle.
Shout out Greg Williams, coach defenses.
Exactly. But all of this is discussed, and Shane says this a lot. All of this is discussed during the week. What is going to be our team game plan so we all know sort of how we're working. So how does it, hence the phrase complementary football, how does that work together? But I think we just say that a lot of times without having an idea of what it really means.
Is there a better term to use? Maybe the term is falling under the identity umbrella. Because like what you described, right? Like what you just described is one of, he's got it written down on the folder. Because what you just described in terms of a team that bend but didn't break, didn't give up a lot of points but gave up a lot of yards, offense had to score rather quickly, defense is predicated on forcing turnovers and being in great physical condition to be on the field for plenty of snaps until the offense makes a mistake so you can get those turnovers and capitalize on them. Reminds me of my favorite football team of all time, the 2009 Saints. Had an offense that could score at will. That was their identity. They didn't have a lot of long drives. It would sometimes take 6 or 7 plays because they could pick up chunks. They ran the ball well enough situationally. Defense gave up a ton of yards, but they were number 1 in the NFL in forcing turnovers.
Right.
Aggressive defensive backs.
They had a distinct identity. This is how we know we go into games and we're going to attempt to win. We're going to turn this knob up here. We're going to turn this knob down to over here. Maybe the identity of a team is that we are extremely aggressive on special teams. And so as a defensive coach, hey, they're aggressive on special teams. We're aggressive on special teams. We may find ourselves in some backed up situations because part of the deal of playing on this team is that the special teams may do or not do some things that may be good, or that may put us in some tight spots. But that's what we do. Or you may have a team, we're extremely conservative on special teams. We'll fair catch everything. Just get the offense the ball. But you have to have an ethos as a team, and it can't be general platitudes like sort of the ones we have right now, the ones that are in the facility, the same as your live, laugh, love, interior decorating. It's cool, but everybody says that. How does this team win the game? We know how Missouri wins the game. Run the ball. That's how they win the game. We don't know after 4 games what our identity is and how this team wants to win football games. In any great football team, you went back to Mike Leach. He wasn't trying to have balance. He was going to, if he had to throw it 90 times a game, guess what? He was going to do that. And you as the defensive coordinator, you need to be prepared for that.
Yeah. If Graham Harrell
there might be some 3 and outs.
Yep.
That's just part of the deal of playing with the Mike Leach offense. It's part of your deal. But you also might have 56 points to work with.
And have to win in a shootout, right? Because if Graham Harrell was going to throw the ball 75 times in a game and his right arm fell off, Mike Leach is making him throw the ball with his left hand. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to be done throwing the football, right? He was going to make him continue to do it. The question that kind of comes up when you do talk about identity and playing kind of within it, when it comes to like players executing, because I feel like that's the biggest issue right now. I think there are some times when in a football game you can have someone like Ben Johnson, who still think is the best play caller in the world of football right now, regardless of level. If players don't play within that identity and execute, it's not going to work. So what does a player playing within whatever your established identity look like, and does that help to have that pretty well established at the beginning of the season so you can play within it instead of maybe changing it on a game-to-game basis?
You brought up Ben Johnson. Any offense that is getting ran by Ben Johnson, who's with the Bears now, was with the Lions, those players know we're going to do something wacky at some point. And that might be a point of emphasis during the season, right? Hey, we're going to call some really cool plays. It's going to be some fun stuff. Maybe players probably even get involved. Like, hey, coach, I was thinking about doing this, the 34 pitch back reverse. And Ben might be like, okay, let me figure out how to work it around. That's part of their identity. The more identity you have, the more you can practice it, the more you have confidence in it. And it's the loop. Confidence, competence, confidence, competence. The more you do something, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more you want to do it. And it goes around and around in a circle. Any good offense has an identity. I think we found what our identity is because we were 8 of 9 on play action passes. What was that stat again?
7 of 8.
15
yards per attempt.
15. We need to be a play action offense. And so because when you, as an offensive player, hear that set of plays called, you feel like you can be successful in them. Those are our plays. We talked about it before. Maybe our identity is the meat package.
For some teams it is.
It might be. You have to have something that your calling card, the thing that you know that you can do on repeat. We don't have that yet as an offense. And I would say we don't really have that yet as a defense either.
And the thing with the defense, too, is you see flashes of what it can be. I think after the Virginia Tech game, you're like, wow, these guys are so fast. You can play 3 linebackers out there because they just cover so much ground. Doesn't do as much good to cover ground if you struggle to wrap up and be able to tackle, right? Or you're maybe not forcing enough turnovers to maybe be that Greg Williams, classic Greg Williams defense where they play incredibly. They don't play risk-averse at all. They gamble a lot, right? They are blitzing aggressively. Cornerbacks are trying to jump routes all the time and trying to force turnovers. And 2 or 3 times a game, they get them, right? And when an offense that you play with is good enough, you can do that, right? But it is a lot more complex than just this is their version of complementary football where, yes, offense does its job, then the defense will do its job because sometimes that doesn't necessarily correlate.
Right. So I think what Gerald was saying is that all sides need to be working together. All sides need to be working. But complementary football is a little bit different than that. All sides need to be fitting into what the other sides. Is this going to be an offensive-led team or a defensive-led team? Is it going to be – and then when you break it down even further than that, you think about defensively. Are we going to be a blitz-happy team? Or are we going to be a team that just rushes 4? Are we going to be a team that plays 4 deep? Or are we going to be a man team? All of that plays into your identity, and if you know who you are, you can go out there and play with a little more confidence. But if you just feel like we're just calling plays here, and we don't know what's really going to work or we don't know why it's working, it's really difficult to get things going.
Iron Giant quote, "You are who you choose to be."
I like it.
And I think that's something this team needs to choose something in terms of an identity. When you look at last year, you had something of that in terms of a complementary football idea because you ran the ball for 180-plus yards a game. You were very successful on the ground. You ate up a lot of clock that way. You were able to allow the defense to be able to force. Again, they forced a lot of turnovers. That was one thing about last year's team that was really good is they forced a ton of turnovers. Despite the offense turning the ball over a lot, because they had their fair share of turnovers, negative plays, the defense forced enough to where at the end of the season you're looking at a turnover ratio and you're still in the green. You're at like a +3 turnover differential throughout the year. And in some games, that carried you, i.e. the Oklahoma game in Norman, where you forcing turnovers got you up 21-0 in the blink of an eye. You got to be able to find something like that on defense to be able to help if the offense continues to struggle in terms of just getting more than 20 points on the board.
Yeah, I would just encourage anybody listening, appreciate you listening, obviously, but if as a sports fan, just think about some of your favorite teams. And you could probably think to the thing that they do, the thing that they were really good at. And it can be, that's the beautiful thing about sports, it can be a wide variety of, you don't have to do the same thing. There's a lot of ways to be successful on a football field, but you have to pick something. And once you pick that thing, you have to go with whatever that is.
It's what's the saying? There's a bunch of different ways to bake a cake. In terms of winning football games, we talked in the last segment about 50 ways to lose a football game. There can be 50 ways to win a football game.
Absolutely.
And that is kind of what is like at the core of what your team does. And I think back about like not every team is the 2019 LSU team that did everything really well, right? They were good on all aspects of the team because they had NFL guys all over it. Sometimes that helps a lot too. But then you think about some of the best Nebraska teams. They dominated the line of scrimmage. They had a quarterback in Tommy Frazier who would run the ball all over the place, and you had to stop all of those options.
Were they worried about balance?
Nope. Tom Osborne, I don't think balance was in his vocabulary.
It wasn't a thing. He wasn't worried about balance. There are a lot of several teams. If you think about your favorite sports team, favorite teams throughout football, baseball, basketball, they do something. They do it a lot. They do it frequently. Oftentimes, you know it's happening. Oftentimes, the other team knows it's happening, and you just cannot stop it.
Yeah. Baseball this year, Milwaukee Brewers. I can't remember the last time they had a 30 home run hitter on that team. They don't do it. And that's how they build their team. And they do it every year. And seemingly, it puts them in a really good position to just get on base and pitch really well. South Carolina certainly needs to find that. Coming up next is the early game morning meeting. We will look at the grades from Pro Football Focus. Some of them not so good. And we have announcements because we know, reportedly, who South Carolina's permanent SEC opponents are now that we're moving in to a 9-game schedule. We break that down and more for the early game morning meeting next.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Of course, we're obviously talking about football, but today I'm going to focus on basketball. Playing Underdog is easy. You can just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Or you can pick points, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Asia Wilson to go higher than 24.5 points against the Fever. That's Asia Wilson to go higher than 24.5 points against the Fever. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAME. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with more continued good news, and that is that there are no accidents that are resulting in traffic backups so far to report, so that's a plus. On the weather front, about 63 degrees right now. This is about as low as it is going to be today, actually bumped up to 64, so it's only going to get warmer from here, high of 88, and during this weekend, 50% chance of thunderstorms on Friday, 60% on Saturday. Well, we know who the permanent opponents will be for South Carolina in the SEC now, the 9-game schedule. We've been waiting on that information for a while. At least I say we think we know. Chris Lowe reported it. So I trust it. So that's how we're going to start off today's morning meeting.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yeah, it will.
Let's go.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome
Will that
day.
attitude.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
And one way I know it's going to be an awesome day is because some rivalries will be reestablished, Preston Thorne. Chris Lowe, now of On3, really spoiled the party for ESPN and the SEC network. Mickey Mouse might not be too happy with Chris Lowe for revealing this information yesterday. He tweeted out, or he reported, the SEC annual opponents, because each team will get 3 now that they are adjusting to a 9-game conference slate starting next season. And for South Carolina, theirs will be Georgia, Florida, and Kentucky. Preston Thorne, you hear that. Obviously, the Kentucky rivalry never went away. Still played them every year. But this year and last year, no Florida on the schedule, no Georgia on the schedule. So now, starting next season, we get the Florida and Georgia games back.
I think this is a great draw for us as fans. Just as a fan, those are games that I always look forward to. As I said, my brother's a Georgia fan, so that's a game that we haven't had for the past 2 years. That's going to be back. That's fun. I have a cousin who's a Florida fan. That's going to be back. That's fun. I feel like there's some geographical ties to those games. And then Kentucky was fun for a little while. We've kind of stuffed them in the locker for the past couple years, and I don't think your boy will be there to see these 3 games.
Mark Stoops.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be there for that. But I'm cool with this particular draw. What about you?
I love it. I love it because that, to me, the biggest hope was that you got some of those old rivalries reestablished, whether it be Tennessee, whether it be Florida, whether it be Georgia. Now we know that you are getting Florida and Georgia, 2 of the 3, right? And you knew you weren't going to get all 3 of those. It was going to be hard for some of them. I thought Georgia might have been in question because of their long-standing rivalries with Auburn and Florida. And I thought Florida might be in a little bit of trouble because of their long-standing rivalries with Georgia and LSU. Well, we're not going to get Florida LSU on a yearly basis because Florida is going to get Georgia, South Carolina, and Kentucky. So really, those 3 schools pretty much make up each other's list with the exception of Georgia throwing Auburn in there and not getting Kentucky. But I like that. I also like having a lot of crossover, right? Like if your common opponents also are playing each other too, the cross-pollination there I think is good for the league.
So with the background and knowing the ilk of the folks down there, Tennessee has Bama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. What do you think their feeling is about that? What do you think they would have wanted?
Probably Alabama, which I think, of course, that one wasn't going away. That's maybe one of the best historical rivalries of the SEC. And Florida. I think the Georgia game for them isn't as big a deal. I know it wasn't for me growing up. It was a big deal because usually the teams were good. But the Florida one was such a big rivalry in the 90s and the early 2000s that was a must-watch game every single year. It will be really weird having a football season where they don't play Florida. And Kentucky, Vanderbilt, historically, were the 2 games at the end of the year, every single year, that was always your soft landing spot, right? I mean, growing up, like my mom's birthday is the last week, usually the last weekend in November, and that was always either the Kentucky or Vanderbilt game. So we'd always go to either the Kentucky or Vanderbilt game. I've seen Kentucky and Vanderbilt play in person so many times, it almost makes me sick. I am numb to it, right? When I want to cover the Carolina-Kentucky game on Saturday, I am numb to seeing those jerseys. I've seen them in person so many bleeping times, it's not even funny. But now that's just kind of reestablished. I think they'd rather have Florida.
So the ones that I'm looking at and I was just looking through this, the ones I think that they knocked out the park is the Texas, because that's perfect.
They did a really good job with your non-traditional SEC teams.
Yeah, I don't know whether
your Big 12ers, your Southwestern Conferencers.
I don't know whether they were showing them some favor or like, hey, we're going to give you, because those games are awesome. Texas' 3 permanent opponents going to be Texas A&M.
Good.
It's back. Arkansas, it's back. Oklahoma, back. So they tried to, I guess, maybe reconcile for some of the damages that conference realignment has done.
Yes.
And I think that's probably to me, if you're looking at all those draws, I think that's probably the best one.
Like Texas A&M. Like the LSU thing, maybe a little manufactured, but there's some proximity there. Mizzou, former Big 12 opponent. Texas, obviously, is going to be there, right? For Oklahoma, Mizzou, used to be a great Big 12 game to watch every year. Ole Miss, whatever. And then Texas, Red River, which delivers every single year. And then Mizzou basically getting Southwest Conference opponent, Arkansas. Or was Mizzou, they were Big 8, I think. I can't remember where they were before the advent of the Big 12. But then they also get Texas A&M and Oklahoma, their old Big 12 mates. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the way to go. Now it's time to look at grades.
Yeah.
Overall grades. You want to start offense first?
Sure.
If you had to guess who had the best offensive grade for South Carolina, who'd it be?
16.
It was not.
Okay.
16 was tied for 6th. He had a 66 overall offensive grade. Be Vandrevius Jacobs, 71.5. So that's good. That's the only one over 70, though. Mm-hmm. Meaning there's still big room for improvement. Mm-hmm. Your highest graded offensive lineman, Rodney Newsom, at 67. Jared Brown had a 68 on only one target. And then you had a bunch in the 60s. The bad ones, you had 2 below 50. Brady Hunt and Josiah Thompson.
Yeah, and that's especially important, as I talked about earlier. Josiah Thompson, because doesn't seem to have been making the development that we needed him to make from his freshman season. Wanted him to take a big jump. He does not seem to have done that. Brady Hunt, a guy that's came in as the tight end. You were expecting him to be a guy that can block, a guy that can get out in the flats, and he was not good in either aspect of that on Friday night. There was a couple scenarios where Brady absolutely missed on blocking assignments that were crucial to the point, and he needs to be better at the point of attack.
Yeah, much better at the point of attack. Defensively, you had 4 players over 70. Vakari Swain at 71.7. Vakari Swain actually one of your highest tackle grades at 83.4. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, Gerald Kilgore, Brian Thomas Jr. Gerald Kilgore, mostly for that interception, they had a 71 grade despite a tackle grade of 26.5. Mm-hmm. Then you only had 1 below 50, and that was Peyton Williams at 42.7. His tackle grade was 22.5. He was credited with 4 missed tackles.
So when you look at the grades, do you feel like they overall reflected the performance?
I think for the most part, the tackling grades definitely do. I think that was the big thing on defense. I don't think you got out schemed or anything. I just think tackling and execution was the biggest thing. And really the only poor grades that you have here were the ones in tackling. When it comes to tackling grades, you had, in terms of guys under 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 under 50.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at this, I'm looking for J.O. I don't see his grade. Oh, his grade is up here. Okay, so he graded out the highest. Still, from the linebacking core, nobody grading out over 70. That's below average football, and that's not going to get you wins in a big-time game, especially when you need to step up and be able to stop the run.
And speaking of stopping the run and tackling, that's what Professor P is going to be about today. We're going to break down tackling technique and a whole lot more next. We were talking about PFF grades earlier. Now I want to give you the grade for Mid-State Roofing when it comes to roofing and waterproofing. It's 100, and it's been that way for nearly 30 years because they are the leader in that roofing and waterproofing industry, so that grade is always really high. You know what their grade is, too, in terms of versatility? You guessed it, 100, because it doesn't matter if it's high-rises or hospitals or the job's manufacturing to industrial. They design and install bonded systems of protective guarantee. They'll keep your operation dry and running no matter what the building is, and they tailor that roof to the needs of your specific facility. And speaking of versatility, too, you can give them a call at 803-356-1919, even after hours, to speak to an on-call technician for your more urgent needs. So for a roofing and waterproofing company that grades out to be 100, give Midstate Roofing a call, 803-356-1919, or online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with thankfully no current accidents that are causing traffic backups. Now, you still might run into some traffic as a result of long-term road construction like on I-20 between 26 on exit 64 and exit 65, as well as 26 between exit 108A and exit 125. Again, those are long-term road construction that might cause you a little bit of backup, but as of right now, there are no traffic backups as a result of accident. So that's good news. Let's keep that up. 95819. Telling you those random numbers right now for no reason. And by that, I mean, keep those in mind because that's the number to text so you can possibly win some cash at some point in this hour, whenever that may be. Just randomly throwing that out because it could be any time that you hear the cue to text. But the text is not to our Firehouse Subs text line, but is to 95819. So that being said, got that out of the way. It's time to learn a little something. Too many missed tackles against Missouri. Why might that be? Well, it's time to talk tackling technique because Professor P has got class in session, and it is time to be able to break that down if this stupid mouse would work.
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football, Wildcat football, Wildcat football, Wildcat football.
All right, let's talk tackling. Okay, first thing we need to understand about tackling is that it's like a lot of things, it has changed over time. So, for instance, you may have had the experience of trying to do the new math with your kid or something like that, and you're like, oh, that's not how we used to do it. We used to do it like this, and your kid's like, no, we do it like this now. That's sort of how tackling is now because the way we used to tackle is not the way that we tackle today. So there are some different things that happen. That being said, there are still fundamental ideas that need to happen. No matter what type of math you're doing, you still know that 1 + 1 is 2. Regardless, how we get there may be different.
Universal truths of tackling.
Exactly. Universal truths of tackling. So tackling is a full body experience. Let's go through how you need to use each one of your body parts to tackle somebody. First off, you need to use your feet. Tackling begins with your feet. You have to use your feet to get in proximity of the person that you are tackling. Oftentimes you might have heard, sometimes you hear it as like stepping on the toes. You want to get as close to the person as possible before you attempt to engage in the tackling process. It makes sense, right? The closer you are, the less space, the less margin for error. If you are attempting to start the tackling process from further away, there's obviously more space, more room for there to be issues. So that's how you're going to use your feet. Step on the toes. You want to get as close as possible. Now you're going to use your hips. You want to go hip to hip. You want your bodies to be as close as possible. All right? You want your bodies to be close as possible. Your hips are your power generation source. Everything in athletics comes from your hips. Shooting a basketball, hitting a baseball, tackling, all comes from your hips. So you're going to make sure that you use your hips. Now, here's where it changes. We have legislated rightfully and have taken the head out of tackling. So now what we're doing is we're attempting to use the shoulder as our main tackling mechanism. Shoulder and the yoke, right?
I've never heard it described as the yoke.
The little area right there between your shoulder and your neck.
Your traps, if you will.
Trap, yeah. You want to trap them in the trap. You want to make sure you're getting there. Now, before we used to try and put our shoulder across the running back. So if they were going this direction, you would want to put your shoulder across. Now we put our shoulder, aim our shoulder at the near hip so that we can keep our head out of the tackling technique. If you want more reference, you can go see the Seahawks. Pete Carroll's one of the innovators of a rugby-style type tackling, the Seahawks tackling. They were the first to do it, the first to really innovate it. So you want to make sure you use your shoulders and your yoke. Why you want to do that? Because that puts your mass against their mass. So shoulder to hip, shoulder to hip. Why are you working on their hip? Because it cuts their body in half. It cuts their body in half, effectively rendering their legs useless and rendering the top of their body useless. And then you want to wrap up, and that's where you're going to use your arms. Throw in the clubs. You want to throw your clubs around them. You want to make sure that when you come to tackle them, you bring your shoulders first, your hips second, and lastly, you want to bring your arms to club up violently. Violent reaction with the clubs. You want to be bringing them as hard as possible so that you're wrapping up, because what you'll see a lot of times on missed tackles, you'll see hits. But as a coach once told me, a hit is not a tackle. And we don't take stats for hits. You don't get numbers in the playbook or in your stat book for hits. You get tackles.
Those are just MTs, missed tackles.
A hit becomes very quickly a MT, a missed tackle. And here's the last little part that you need for tackling. Once you throw your shoulder, once you stepped on their toes, then you threw your shoulder and you close your hips, you threw your violent clubs. The last little things that you need, your hands. You need your hands. And more specifically, you need fingers. You got to grab. You got to claw. You got to scrap. You better grab every possible thing you can to bring that person down. Is it their jersey? Maybe. Is it their arm? Maybe. Leg? I don't know.
Troy Polamalu, hair.
Hair? I don't care.
Ouch.
You better grab something and work on finger when you're grabbing somebody because they are trying to move out of your grasp. So when you wrap them up, they're going to be trying to spin. They're going to be trying to move. You have to use your hands to make sure that that does not happen. Tackling is a full body experience. Feet, hips, shoulders, hands, arms. All of it combines to make a tackle. And you have to do that every single time.
And now to what one of our texters texted in earlier this morning, where he kind of attributed the tackling issues to trying to strip the ball out. Where is the balance between making a fully sound fundamental tackle and trying to make a play in terms of turnovers? Because we're seeing a lot now of players peanut punching the ball out. For those who don't know, Charles Peanut Tillman, innovator of just taking a fist and punching at the ball and forcing a fumble. A lot more teams are drilling that in players now.
Yeah, but that is a secondary measure. Right, that is a secondary thing. That is not what you want to be attempting to do first. Think about like investing. Like crypto's not first.
That's not in the first chapter.
It's not the first thing that you do. You want to be able to put some money in a savings account first, right? Maybe then you work from there. Peanut punching, it can be very much rewarding. It can be awesome. You can get a turnover. You also can have 16 missed tackles when you're trying to peanut punch. And so the origins, when you talk about the peanut punch, what people miss is that Tillman, Charles Tillman, safety from the Bears, was part of a great defense. Let's start there.
Yes.
He wasn't just doing it on some terrible defense. He was part of a historic defense. And oftentimes, I don't know, Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher, Tank Johnson, these dudes would have people wrapped up first, and then here comes Peanut with the peanut punch, finishing off a tackle, right? The finishing of the tackle. So you want to secure tackles first. And so as a coach, with 14 and 16 missed tackles respectively, you walk in there and say, no more punching. I don't want to see it no more. Tired of it. We're going to go back to old school tackling before you even get a chance to punch anybody anymore because you have to secure tackles before you get to that other things.
Those are our fundamental lessons on tackling from Professor P. Now it's time to engage in Team Crush Tuesday because there are a lot of teams that did a lot of fun stuff on Saturday from places that you might not have expected. We'll tell you who we're crushing on this Tuesday coming up next. Sometimes the IRS can be like Charles Peanut Tillman, peanut punching the ball, but it peanut punches your wallet and other aspects of your life, forcing fumbles. Well, you can make them miss tackles, right? That aggressiveness can be countered with the Ecton Law Firm. Let Ecton Law Firm be your missed tackle forcer, because they're here for you to help alleviate your stresses caused by that pesky IRS maze. They've been doing this for a long time. John Ecton and his team understand the challenges that your business can face, and that's why they're perfectly qualified to give you the peace of mind that you know you deserve. So take that first step today by scheduling a free consultation at 803-771-9800, and you can always visit them at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Tuesday is always Watch the Tape Tuesday, but it's also Team Crush Tuesday. Teams that maybe we don't have an affiliation with, a previous fandom with, but because of the way they play football, you can't help but fall in love just a little bit. And Preston Thorne, I got to start from a place I didn't think I'd get to this year, because one of my Team Crush Tuesday teams, Purdue.
Whoa.
In general, I've always said that if I had to choose a Big Ten allegiance, it would be Purdue. The uniforms are sick.
I was going to ask you, do they favor, is it because the uniforms favor one of your other teams?
Yes.
I
The
figured that.
aesthetic
Okay.
is sick. Drew Brees played for Purdue.
Really cool.
Iconic player in college football. Coach Tiller had the sickest mustache. They had some really fun teams. That place used to crank out quarterbacks. When I first started watching college football, they were quarterbacked by Kyle Orton, and he threw the ball all over the yard.
Yeah, they're
Those
fun.
teams were so much fun. Well, they've been really bad recently. They were 0 for FBS last year. Their only win came against Eastern Illinois. Reminder, not FBS. And no, Tony Romo wasn't quarterbacking. No, Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't quarterbacking them this year. Eastern Illinois really bad. That was their only win last year. Well, this year, still not very good. They're 2-2. But in their loss to Notre Dame, where they put up a good fight, as a team made up of a bunch of transfers for first-year coach Barry Odom, they ran one of the sickest trick plays you will ever see. In the red zone, driving the ball down, quarterback Ryan Brown hands the ball off to running back Devin Mockabee. Mockabee takes a couple steps towards the line of scrimmage and stops. This is going to be a halfback pass, but to whom? It's to quarterback Ryan Brown, who's over on the sideline. He catches it, runs it in for a touchdown. That was my favorite play of the entire weekend.
And they are, what's their record right now?
2-2.
2-2, which is 200% better than what they were last year.
Yep, that is a lot better than what they were last year. And one of those wins came against an actual FBS opponent, and it was against Ball State, a real FBS opponent, and they shut them out. It was 31-0, first game of the year. Had a tough loss at home against Southern Cal, 33-17, where that game got a little wacky. I think they ended up getting a first down on a failed trick play, but they still were able to pick up a fumble and get a first down. So they have fallen backwards, rear backwards into some really cool plays.
Shout out to Ball State, the one in our 1 for 21 streak that we were in 99 to 2000, 99 to 2000, 1-21. Ball State, you were the one. We appreciate it.
Fonzie Wells didn't play on that team, I assume.
He was not walking through that door.
Was not walking through that door.
Come on, man. This is obvious. This is. I've been talking about this dude. He's the quote machine.
Yeah.
They went up there. They eliminated our arch nemesis at home. Embarrassed them.
They did. It wasn't close.
Had Dabo crying. Fran Brown and the Syracuse Orangemen. Hey, don't look now. Something might be happening.
If the backup quarterback can give them the rest of the year really
that's
good,
that's gonna be a problem.
For Steve Angeli he was playing really well this year. Non-contact injury. But what gives me hope, Preston, is Syracuse was really good on the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
They came out, they showed up, and they won that football game.
So this is maybe a transferable because I got my eye on you, Fran. I like your quotes.
I love Fran Brown.
You are a breath of fresh air because as Gundy is ushering himself out, who was another top of the quote machine, but I don't think we're going to have that anymore. Fran is taking that space, being highly quotable, very fun. And on top of that, his team's overachieving, I think.
They are, because they lost. They only returned 2 starters on offense. They lost 9 offensive starters on last year.
Again, if you're a person who likes to coach with a little bit of personality, a dude who has embraced NIL, embraced the transfer portal, but also not scared to tell his players, "Hey man, we're not paying you that. Go. You might want to go play somewhere else."
Right? We ain't got that for you in the budget.
You might want to do something else. Very, very, very fun. So Fran Brown and the Syracuse Orangemen got my eye on you. It's my first Team Crush Tuesday.
My next one is Texas Tech, because I had questions about Texas Tech. They invested a lot of money in the line of scrimmage. They played maybe one of the best line of scrimmage programs in college football of the last decade and a half in Utah on the road, and they beat the hell out of them on the line of scrimmage, and did so with their backup quarterback having to come in. There were 3 quarterbacks that played in that game. Baron Morton and Devin Dampier were 2 of the best players in quarterbacks in that conference. The best quarterback in that game was backup Will Hammond, who came in and lit it up whenever Baron Morton had to leave the game because of an injury.
My next one is going to be an anti-crush.
Ooh.
Now watch this. This is why maybe some of your dating services don't really work in the real world, because sometimes somebody could be everything that you want on paper. Offensive line coach, big defensive ends, play the game up front. I'm supposed to like Miami. I don't.
Oh.
I do not. I have an anti-crush on Miami.
Anti-crush on Miami. Almost too much like here.
Exactly.
Interesting. The dating services don't tell you that, so that's how dating services can sometimes go awry very quickly. 2 hours in the books, 1 more to go. That's all coming up next. So one of the cool things that we do here at this station, the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest, and it's back. And you have a really good chance to win money this year because Vicari Swain has housed 3 punts so far this season. Now, on the flip side, teams might not kick to him, which if I am an opposing special teams coordinator, I would not be thrilled to have to punt the ball to Vicari Swain because I have seen what he's done this year, and it's really impressive. Even when he doesn't score, you still hold your breath, and you still have to pay attention to where that guy's doing on the field, and he still picks up yardage. And even in the game against Vanderbilt, he didn't return one to the house, but he got a really good return on it, and they were maybe 1 or 2 blocks away. So special teams touchdowns, very much so in play this year. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register because the pot is now up to $300. Remember, you can't win and enjoy that special teams touchdown to the max if you don't register. So register today at 1075thegame.com. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with, unfortunately, a few accidents to get to you now that are causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Community Drive at Old Orangeburg in Lexington County. Also have one on Old Charleston Road at South Carolina 302 at Edmond Highway, and on South Lake Drive near Highway 602 and Platte Springs Road. All those in Lexington County. In Richland County, we have one to report on. That's over at Sparkleberry Lane at Clemson Road. Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He is Preston Thorne. No Jen Jensen today. She's got the day off, and she's probably taking her victory lap privately because of the Lions winning last night. That's another 4.5 points in the early game underdog challenge. That was a 21-point week.
Big weekend.
A 21-point week for Jen Jensen, from being the only goose egg to taking the lead in one weekend.
Big.
I don't know if it could have been any better. Don't know if it could have been any better. Hour number 3 starts right now, and we still have some Team Crush Tuesday submissions, but one texter on the Firehouse Subs text line, can't speak today, good Lord, is a not-so Team Crush, and it comes from Preston Thorne's favorite NFL team.
Oh, no.
And it's an early submission to get on the line. It says, Preston, your Atlanta Falcons didn't cross the 30 at all on Sunday. They need to get on the line. That's from Brian.
Yeah, I'm learning what this is like to be a Falcons fan. Rise up. We've had 2 coaches dismissed this week. We lost 30-0 to the lowly Panthers. It's the tough sledding, but we'll be all right.
Bryce Young has quarterbacked 4 games against the Atlanta Falcons. You want to guess what his record is?
He's not 4-0, is he?
No, but he is 3-1.
Which is I'm going on a limb and say that's better than any other team in the league.
I think the Falcons account for a third of his wins as a starting quarterback.
That's what I would assume.
At least. He's got their number. I don't know how. He doesn't have many teams' number, but Bryce Young has the number of the Atlanta Falcons. So that is not ideal. Been talking about the Gamecocks' loss at Missouri because it's Watch the Tape Tuesday. And I think we don't have to go back and watch the tape to realize that the way this team played on Saturday is not going to be good enough to win any game in the SEC. You can't commit 14 penalties. You can't commit all those false starts. You can't miss all of those tackles. It's 4 games in the season, and the team is still making too many crucial mistakes. And Shane Beamer said as much after the game, talked about it specifically, that the way they played on Saturday is not going to be conducive to winning anytime soon.
Congrats to Missouri. They did what they needed to do to win the football game. Proud of our guys and the way they came in here and competed. We expected to win this football game. Disappointed that we didn't. Just told them in the locker room, when you get outrushed 285 to -9, you're not going to win. When you are in the red zone like we were and went backwards, it's going to be hard to win. When you have, once again, 14 penalties, it's going to be hard to win. When you have opportunities to make plays and we don't get it done, it's going to be hard to win. And having said all that, we had the lead going into the 4th quarter. And we weren't able to finish. I thought our defense did a good job of stopping them and getting the ball back for us. Credit that kicker. I know he's their backup kicker after the starter got hurt. We disappointed to give up an explosive run on 1st down when they got in plus territory, but then we stopped them on 3 plays, forced the field goal. Credit that guy coming in as a backup kicker and making that. But not enough good to win the game, but
got the lead going into the fourth quarter, and we weren't able to finish, which is disappointing.
The theme of the game is doing some good stuff and immediately negating it. Getting to the Missouri 2-yard line on an incredible pitch and catch, and then immediately after, giving up a sack, and then going from easy touchdown distance to now fighting to get back in field goal range. It is scoring a touchdown on a beautiful pass from Lenore Sellers to Vandrevius Jacobs. One of the best throws you'll see in college football this year, only to follow up with your kicker kicking the ball out of bounds on the ensuing kickoff and giving Missouri the ball at the 40-yard line. That really sums the game up, and it is unfortunate for this football team who had incredibly high hopes at the beginning of the year to lose games in that manner where every step forward, you then took 2 steps back immediately.
Well, that's what bad teams do. And that's what we're trying to figure out now. The only narrative that we're working with that this was a good team was that they were highly ranked in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what we've seen on the field, we keep having this conversation, and I'm guilty of it just like anybody else, saying they need to find our identity. We need to figure out what their identity is. Unfortunately, as of right now, they do have their identity. And this is from Rickson Lane on Twitter. Through 4 games, South Carolina has been flagged for 23 pre- or post-snap penalties.
Ooh.
23 pre- or post-snap penalties. 7 versus Virginia Tech, 5 versus South Carolina State, 4 versus Vanderbilt, 7 versus Missouri. 23 pre- or post-snap penalties. That's not involving anything having to do within the play. Holding, pass interference, face masking, things that could happen
Throughout the course of playing a football game.
Right.
Yes.
You don't want them, but you can excuse them. Pre- and post-snap cannot happen, especially when you're not executing on all levels. So, unfortunately, we keep saying that they need to find their identity. Well, their identity is that they are not a very disciplined football team as of now. Can that change? Yes, it can. But as of now, this team's identity is that they are undisciplined as a football team. That starts with the coaching, obviously, and it goes down to the players. We've been searching for their identity. After 4 games, this is what their identity is, unfortunately.
Now, can you read the progression of those pre- and post-snap penalties again, starting with game 1, then going down to game 4?
7 versus Virginia Tech, 5 versus South Carolina State, 4 versus Vanderbilt, 7 versus Missouri.
If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see I did the arm thing to kind of depict a graph, right, by each game. My arm was all the way up here for 7. It dipped down to 5. It dipped down to 4. And my arm got a little bit lower. And then on game 4, it goes back up to where it was in game 1. That is the disturbing part to me. There's week one-iness baked into your first game of the year. I might expect some of that sloppiness to start the year, right? 7 pre- and post-snap penalties. Stuff happens in the first game, especially in college football where you don't get a preseason. That can be expected. That can be chalked up to week one-iness. When you get to the 4th game of the year, there is no such thing as week 4-iness. It's called who you are, right? After a few games, eventually your habits become your identity. And then when we get to game 4 and you see 7 of those, it can't be chalked up to that anymore. And I think that's maybe the most disturbing part of it is instead of trending down, which you were after 3 games, you then get to game 4 and that amplifies on your first true road game. That is when it gets to the point where, okay, now you have to look yourself in the mirror and really determine whether or not that is what you are.
Right. And that's what I would say. I would say, unfortunately, right now, that's what they are. That can change because it's pre- and post-snap penalties. These are things that can be easily corrected. Maybe corrected with a little bit of get on the line, a little bit of up-downs, whatever your choice of corrective measure is. Yes. But it can be corrected, and it has to be corrected moving forward because those things just don't show up. As the old coaching adage goes, either you coach it or you allow it. We're assuming they're not coaching it, so now we don't want to get to the point where they're allowing it. That has to change. Doesn't matter what the game plan is moving forward. You can spend all your time on drawing up the X's and O's and trying to decide what's the best game plan. If you jump off sides and now you're 1st and 15, or if you jump off sides coming out of a timeout, TV timeout.
Especially egregious.
We can't win.
No. That one is one of my biggest football icks in general, just because you have time to regroup. TV timeouts are long in college football.
Yes,
That's why they make so much money on these TV contracts.
They're longer in person than they are when you're watching TV.
Oh, in person it's worse because the guy is standing there with the little clock on the stick, and you can just count down. And you look over or you're sitting around, maybe you're talking to a buddy or something. You're looking around, you're doing the stuff that normally happens during stoppage. Maybe you're on your phone for a little bit, and you look up and you're like, okay, we got to be getting close back to action, right? And you look down and it's like, oh, there's still 1:45 in this thing left? Like, it is crazy how long the commercial timeouts feel when you're at the game in person. During that time, you're game planning what's going to happen next. You have a plan in place. That is the time where you can get a plan in place without having to do it on the fly. Those should be the easiest calls. Those should be the easiest ones to execute. And then to be able to not get to do what it is you wanted to do because you jump and you create a false start. Well, now that plan that you had on 1st and 10 is going to be a little different because now it's 1st and 15. Now your plan to move the chains has to change a little bit. And it automatically kills the momentum of your offense. Again, Clark Brooks is going to be joining us, SEC StatCat at 8:30. The last time he was on with us, he reminded us the team that was the best in the SEC at moving backwards, not where you want to go in a game of violent real estate acquisition, were the South Carolina Gamecocks. That's what they have been the last few years. And the fact that you have that after TV timeout doesn't dispel anything. It's not going to help you beat the accusations.
Right. And those were when our offenses were good.
Yeah. Even at the end of the year when it was clicking, we were still moving backwards maybe a little too much.
We still went backwards a little bit more, and maybe that was just baked into what they do. So I think that's obviously the thing when you watch the Tape Tuesday. Things happen within a game. They are on scholarship too. Ahmad Hardy's one of the best running backs in the nation. I get all of that. But that has nothing to do with knowing the snap count. That has nothing to do with snapping the ball when it's supposed to be snapped. That has nothing to do with any of the pre or post snap things that you can eliminate to give yourself an opportunity to win those games. And so that's the thing moving forward. That's the one thing we want to look at when we go into Kentucky, which I said, man, whoa, did the schedule gods bless us with a great game coming in this weekend. But you want to see if that can get eliminated. If that's not eliminated, then we're having totally different conversations after the end of this week.
The most unfortunate part about this, Preston Thorne, is that pre- and post-snap penalties and having them the way they are, having 7 in a game is a non-starter. Like, you got away with it against Virginia Tech because he hit on some explosives, and now I think after 4 games of sample size, we know what Virginia Tech is, and that's bad enough to get their head coach fired. So, yeah, it's easier to get away with that against Virginia Tech. And even then, you were still in a 10-8 dogfight in the fourth quarter. It's not going to be easy to get away with that. And actually, as a matter of fact, you won't get away with that.
You didn't get away with it.
You didn't get away with it at Missouri. You wouldn't get away with that against Kentucky. And I think Kentucky is cooked with a K, UK, right? You cooked. But they might thaw out, not thaw out. They might, raw up a little bit whenever you play them and you have 7 pre or post snap penalties. You will give them life. They will get further away from the grill, right? If you hand them opportunities and keep shooting yourselves in the foot to move behind the chains. That's the frustrating thing. That stuff's not going to fly with the teams that you play, because the teams that you play, especially once we get into October, when it's LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, going to be much more sound in that department.
Again, this is just pre and post now. We're not talking about in-game penalties, which some are excusable, but then some are also not.
Yes.
Some also have to be coached out, whether it's the holding on the offensive line or the extra handsy that we play defensive back with. I understand aggressiveness, but being ultra handsy is something that you can curtail during practice, and you can't allow it, and we can't just leave it up to chance that the referees may or may not call it. So there's two parts of this: pre and post snap, and then in game. And that's how you get to 14 penalties.
Mm-hmm.
That's unacceptable. They know that. Everybody knows that. I'm not revealing some magical secret here, but I think it's worth noting.
Yeah, you can't even get to the snap penalties if you don't get to snap the ball first, right? And that's a big part of it. And then the post-snap penalties, all discipline.
It's all discipline.
That's all it is at that point. So that's where this team's at right now. That's their big challenge this week, is shoring up that type of stuff if they want to be able to have any success in the SEC. That is a non-negotiable in terms of winning games. in this league. Message board mayhem a little different today because it's introducing us into some stories that are maybe some of the best in college football. And also, one message board, clairvoyant. We'll tell you who that might be coming up next on the early game. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways this morning, starting with a few of them in Lexington County, 3 of them to be exact. One on Community Drive at Old Orangeburg, another one at Old Charleston Road at South Carolina 302 and Edmond Highway. The last one on South Lake Drive near Highway 602 and Platte Springs Road, all of those causing some minor traffic backups. In Richland County, we have one, and that is on Sparkleberry Lane at Clemson Road. Oh, message board mayhem. A little positive today?
Slightly. We still got some doozies. But it's on a different side. Because most times when people go to message boards, it's usually to complain. I haven't checked out Tiger droppings, but I'm sure they're on fire.
Yep.
I'm sure that's been on fire. But that's not what we're doing today.
No, because there are 3 programs in college football that if you tell them to act like they've been there before, quite literally can't respond with, okay. That they can respond with, we haven't been there before. So we're going to take as many victory laps as humanly possible. And shout out to my guy in Nashville, Joe Rexroad, who writes for The Athletic, who put together like a best of the best of message board posts from Texas Tech, Indiana, and Vanderbilt after they had impressive wins.
Awesome article.
To be able to get to this undefeated mark. They have still all not taken a loss. Now, Texas Tech took a sledgehammer to Utah on Saturday. And here's just some of the hits. One poster says, everything runs through Lubbock. Another one says, we just shifted the college football matrix. We are here to kill. We are new Clemson of the 2010s. That's
rich.
That is feeling mighty. One says, we're back, boys. Thank you, Cody Campbell. No relation to me, but that is the billionaire donor who has basically funded this football team and the roster that they built. He says also, please, let's go get more O-line depth in the portal again. Another one, goes by the name Laxative Larry, says, I now love everyone again, except the Utes. They still suck, and pretty much every other fan base.
You left out my personal favorite. In rebuttal to the conversation about, they just buy their teams and WTX Red Raider, it must suck to be poor because we are not.
It must suck to be poor. See, yeah, when your team's doing that and they're winning games, that's the right response.
Listen, man, Texas Tech is a case study in what could possibly happen in the changing landscape of college football. They did it in softball, right? It's coming to basketball this season. The big experiment was it going to happen in football? And we're seeing progress being made. I think this is another story to keep your eye on.
And then for Indiana, because speaking of sledgehammers and taking it to somebody, my God, what they did to Illinois is not FCC appropriate. And who knows if they received any complaints, the SEC did, from that game, because that was not safe for the consumption of anyone under the age of 18 in a 63-10 blowout of Illinois. One commenter says, I have literally never had more fun in sports. Another poster says, we literally broke them. And then one person makes a bold proclamation here. He says, I say this again without hyperbole. Kurt Cignetti is the best coach in college football, bar none. Right now, a year ago, I did a rather long post on why I thought that was true then. Now, the results and product on the field speak for themselves. No words need typed. IU has found a unicorn. IU has kept the unicorn. The good times, we're going to keep those too. What a time to be alive. And you know what? Considering I thought they were FCS merchants to start the year, because they're terrified to play anyone non-conference. They're certainly not terrified to play the teams in their conference because Illinois was in the top 10 coming into that game, and they absolutely embarrassed Brett Bielema and the Illini.
Yeah, Signetti is polarizing. Another one who can rise up the quote boards. He will give you a great quote every time he talks. Obviously, the first one at the press conference, I win, Google me. So legendary.
Yeah.
But we all said, hey, relax. But
63-10 is 63-10, man. And I think he did it again with a portal quarterback. Not a lot of teams have had success with the rent-a-quarterback system. Take a look at another basketball school that has not had success with running a quarterback in the portal every year. That would be Kentucky. Well, Indiana had Curtis Rourke last year, got him from Ohio, and he was really good. Fernando Mendoza, who they got from Cal, might be better because somebody posted a thread of some of his throws from the all-22 angles, and those are big boy throws, what I like to call BBTs, the big boy throws, and he made a lot of them.
So when you talk about the message boards, there's nothing worse in college football than watching somebody who you think you're supposed to be better than rise up and past you. And
No
so,
Falcons. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the Spartans having a tough time dealing with this.
Oh, I bet it's unhinged. Can't handle this.
Because it's not only are you mad at your program, but then you look, it's like, them?
How are they able to do it and we can't, right? That's the worst type of angst as a fan. One of the worst type of angst.
And to initiate that, Spartiate says, NIL estimates are out there. MSU spends $13 million on this year's roster. Indiana, 13.6. There's not much of a difference. So what's the difference? Maybe coaching.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Coach Smith's on the hot
Jonathan
seat.
Smith. Because you see automatically gets hot when you start looking around and it's like, hold on, Indiana football?
Yeah. This good? But postseason, Indiana football?
Yeah.
Bob Knight coaching them too?
Also, in the way of catching strays, watching Signetti on the sideline being involved in every aspect of the game is refreshing. Compare that to the uninterested, deer-in-the-headlight looks of CLF. And if you're in the know, if you know, you know. What does CLF stand for?
Coach Luke Fickle.
Coach
Because things are going really well in Madison right now. They're not jumping around.
Oh, man. That's tough, man.
That's as bad as Wisconsin's ever looked in my lifetime. Because Maryland went to Madison, Wisconsin. They went to Camp Randall and took their trap. They did. They made it theirs.
It's a bad spot.
There's a quote from a Dave Chappelle skit about messing up somebody's couch.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Maryland did to Wisconsin when they showed up to their house.
Habitual line steppers.
Maryland played the habitual line stepper role and rubbed shoes all over that couch and let them hear about it.
Speaking of habitual line steppers, Diego Pavia.
Yes, a habitual line stepper.
One of the message boards, one of the messages was that the Vandy fans know they are officially arrived because people were complaining that they were only winning 56-15 against Georgia State this weekend.
Right, Georgia State scored 15 points, and that was way too much for some of them, for some fans.
Vandy has arrived. They are a program. When you complain about your team only winning, that's when you know you're official.
Only winning by 41 points because they scored touchdowns on their first 6 drives of that game.
We haven't had that luxury around here this year.
No, have not. Not in this town. Not this year. It hasn't been that way so far. Before we get a message board mayhem, too, the most mayhem maybe coming from a source of clairvoyance, because just a few days ago on Auburn Sports, a post says, my Tennessee buddy says Bruce is retiring and stepping down this week. He is pretty well connected, his buddy. And this comes from a poster who goes by Cherry Garcia. Great flavor of ice cream from Ben & Jerry's. If you know, you know. And somebody on Twitter, Noah Horowitz, quotes, says the corner has now called the retirement of Saban and now Bruce Pearl before it broke. Incredible. You hear rumors, or you read rumors on there all the time, and a lot of them are really silly. But if it's on that Auburn sports site, it might be true. There might be something to it.
Wow.
So if we want to go to the message board's greatest hits, I get you got to put that on there.
Somebody's walking around with their chest out now.
Yep.
I told you.
Cherry is walking around with his chest out.
And that's the best part about message boards. You might work right next to Cherry, and you don't know.
And you don't know who they know.
You don't know who they know. Sources on high, on with authority.
Because Cherry knows something.
Yeah.
Cherry knows something. He knows someone who knows something. So that's the best of Message Board Mayhem, one of our better ones in weeks. But now it's time to readdress the South Carolina offense again. SEC stat cat himself, Clark Brooks, joins us next. Was just talking about how an Auburn message board predicted Bruce Pearl retiring. That person knows. On my personal message board, it's floating around out there that Midstate Roofing is the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry and has been for nearly 30 years. That one also verified to be true, because it does not matter if it's high-rise or hospitals. Manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing for nearly 30 years has been designing and installing bonded systems with a protective guarantee, and the guarantees continue. They roll on because you can protect that roof with a maintenance contract. No better way to keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So give them a call today, 803-356-1919, and you can always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways this morning, starting with one on Community Drive at Old Orangeburg, one on Old Charleston Road at South Carolina 302 near Edmond Highway, and another on South Lake Drive near Highway 602 at Platte Springs Road. Those are all the ones in Lexington County. As of right now, we also have one in Richland County at Sparkleberry Lane at Clemson Road. One of my favorite guests every time we want to talk offensive football and really break down the game on a pretty much molecular level here. Clark Brooks, who's now an analyst at On3, he joins us right now. And Clark, as always, appreciate the time. And you're fresh off of charting South Carolina and Missouri. You've watched all South Carolina this year. You have grinded that tape. What's kind of your main takeaways on why this offense has struggled to achieve what some of the expectations are with a quarterback like Lenore Sellers?
Well, first of all, good morning, Elijah. And then second, yeah, it's the same old issues that have plagued this offense the last few years. Line play's not good. They're moving backwards a whole lot. Quarterback's not ideally seeing the field as well as he needs to. Plays are being left on the field. There's a whole lot of dysfunction up front that's throwing off timing and comfortability with operating in the pocket. And there's just not a whole lot of things they can bank on to move the ball down the field. Even though this offense is capable of getting explosives, it's really capped where they're more average. Of course, they haven't necessarily played the hardest slate. The first few weeks they really had to bank on those massive punt returns to get points on the board. So there's just a lot of things going on from an operational standpoint, and it all starts up front for me. So I have said before, under Shane Beamer, it's very hard to ignore from someone in my seat to get past the fact that South Carolina, for 4 straight years, had a double-digit negative play rate. And, Elijah, guess what? After the first month of the season, they're dead last in the SEC in negative play rate, again, at 12.2%. It's one of their worst clips they have had. And, of course, when you're looking at pressure rate allowed, they're in the bottom 3 of the conference there. And when you're looking at rush yards before contact, excluding scrambles, only 1.5 yards on average. Guess what? Only Florida is worse than the conference. So, yeah, it all starts up front and moving backwards way too much and putting themselves in holes that they're just unable to, get out of. And, of course, a lot of people want to focus on that third down statistic. They're absolutely one of the worst in the country on third down. But I will tell you, some of the best third down offenses are offenses that avoid third down the best. So they got to do a better job on first and second down, just not moving backwards and staying ahead of the chain.
And earlier this was like about a week or so ago, Shane Beamer wanted to dispel a narrative that Lenore Sellers is not running the ball as much. Not running the ball as much on design runs. And he says he's running on design runs the same as last year because they run the same plays. Well, the last 6 weeks of last year, we saw a lot more consistency from the offense. What's kind of your take on the difference between maybe the last 6 weeks of last year and what we've seen this year, specifically with how Lenore Sellers is being used?
I would give some pushback against that. One of the things that really helped the offense find its footing, like you're saying, were these quarterback perimeter runs. So you can call them a few different things. Of course, there are going to be wrinkles based on what the front are, depending on exactly what scheme you will see. But generally speaking, it's going to be like a pin-pull base type of thing where you're going to have front side folds and a couple guys work around the edge, be personal protection for him while he works around the edge there. That has been visible, but definitely not as much as the last half of the season when he became a lot more of a dynamic aspect to help buoy the run game. So they're trying to do a lot of it's a kind of visible RPO, but you'll see this. It's the fast motion, jet motion, where it's a zone away where you'll have a slide, and one of the guys on the fast motion is running a wheelie switch, so a post curl wheel along the sideline. And a lot of them are just right-handed because it just makes sense. A lot of that has been muddy, and even though you would think, well, it's getting our guy a predetermined read, it's outside the mesh where he can see it a little bit better, it's just not really working. And yes, you would think it can maybe grease Lenore Seller's ability to scramble and get on the move. It's just not really materializing that way. So play-action boots this year, they've only run 4 in meaningful minutes. Half of them have worked. I would recommend maybe doing that for real as opposed to doing the RPO, because if you're doing an RPO, you have to tell your offensive line you can't go downfield too much. If they're not going to go downfield too much, they're not going to fire off the ball as hard. If they're not going to fire off the ball as hard, they're not going to have as much cushion. So there's this cascading effect in the operation that I'm just not a big fan of. I know there are certain reasons why they're doing it, but I would just recommend maybe changing course that way, getting Lenore really outside the pocket, whether on design runs or on the bootlegs where he has a true run-pass option, and the line is a little bit more, they're in the right mindset to know, okay, we know our role on this play. We're not trying to gain vertical push here. We're not trying to ruin the timing or anything like that with these wheelie switches and slides, again, which have not really worked despite being visible and tried a whole lot. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely push back against Beamer saying, yeah, we're running the same plays. You are and you aren't, but you're still, putting a lot of weight into Lenore Sellers to make plays, but you're not necessarily putting him in the positions to maximize his skill set.
And that you touched on something I really wanted to ask you, and it's that play-action bootleg. Because from just our feeling of watching the game and rewatching the game, we noticed that when that happens, that they've had a lot of success. The first play of the year, a play-action bootleg that picked up like 20-something yards on a little tight end leak out. We saw it a couple times against Missouri, and that play-action was their best source of passing offense. What makes that successful, and what are maybe kind of the pros and cons of just running that more?
So in the past, play action usually goes potency, it usually goes verticality, it usually goes a little bit more pop, obviously, throwing downfield because you have that deception element. You're trying to manipulate defenders, moving them out of their spot. And when you have a very poor run game that's not respected, obviously you don't necessarily, from a defensive perspective, you don't always have to allocate your resources to stopping the run because it's so simple to stop. You're not going out of your way to, overcompensate. But same time, because of how South Carolina is fairly deliberate with their inside run game, it can be a little bit twitchy for linebackers to jump. And, of course, if you are in a two-shell-high defense, unless you want to be out-gapped, you almost always have to redirect a safety towards the box. If that rotation happens, you have more single high. Single high is a lot more easier to take advantage of two deep coverages. As you know, if you're playing two deep coverages, you're keeping everything basically in front of you. You have your middle of the field open, but you have linebackers underneath it where seeing the field isn't as clean as a single high man, cover 3, where you have the seams open, you have the outside the numbers open. So like I was saying in the operation, they are trying to do a little bit more things where he can see the field better. But the play action in general, it's a major source of their big plays. So if we're looking at their top gainers, Yankee concepts, so those are also known as Portland or Hiccup if you're coming from certain types of schemes. So basically these are deep, heavy set play actions with a deep cross over the field, and then you'll have another deep route that complement it, whether it is a deep post, whether it's a bend back corner, whether it's just a straight fade. But these are 15% of the offense's plays the first month of the season. They are a major source of how they move the ball downfield, a major source of explosive gains. And, of course, they play off of floods, which are, you're just trying to overload a certain part of the defensive zone with a bevy of routes. But they themselves have not worked, but Yankees, the counterpunch, have absolutely been potent off of play action. So while, you can maybe see a little bit more aggression throwing the balls in harm's way, that has not been Sellers' problems whatsoever. It's a little bit more timidness recognizing things in time, and being comfortable with from Messi and breaking down pockets. Because, like I mentioned, pressure rate one of the worst in the SEC, and obviously when you're running more slower developing plays like play actions tend to do, you tend to see a little bit more heat.
Because we could do hours with our friend Clark. Hours with him.
I need to take a shower.
Or get a cigarette or something. I mean, something
Boy,
after all that.
myself. Wow.
If you don't follow him, you absolutely should, at @ClarkBrooks_on3. Clark, thanks as always for joining us. We always appreciate your time and looking forward to checking back in with you.
Likewise, always a pleasure, Elijah. You guys have a great day.
Appreciate you.
Fantastic stuff from Clark. He's definitely a winner. We'll react to that and give our winners of today's show. Coming up next.
winners. Winners.
Coach, we got him. You ask, you shall receive. And I got to start this segment off, Preston Thorne. Winner, Clark Brooks, put on 3.
Man.
Broke it down. Again, we get him on to talk about this offense from a really, a molecular level to try to see what maybe some of the issues are. And once again, Carolina, another season with a double-digit negative play rate.
So I can just lead directly into my winner as a number. 12.2 is the actual number. 12.2% of the plays go backwards. That's good enough for last place in the SEC. And unfortunately, as Clark Brooks told us, this is familiar territory. So when you hear conversations about we're calling the same plays, running the same offense, unfortunately, we're getting a lot of the same results that we've been getting throughout this time as an offense. So if that's what you've been thinking, I would advise you, if you're just tuning in now, go on our YouTube, listen to the previous segment, because it was so much. I'm going to go back and listen to it because and if you listen to this show, thank you, but you will be hearing that segment more because we're going to break that down and be talking about it.
Yeah, it will be repackaged and repurposed because there was a lot there to get into, a whole lot when it comes to maybe identifying some of the problems with this offense. Another winner of the show because we talked about him in Message Board Mayhem, and I have to do it. And I didn't want to because I've got the biggest love-hate relationship with this coach on planet Earth, Indiana coach Curt Cignetti.
Google me.
He wins. I mean, it started off with that press conference. Loved it. Bringing over a bunch of his guys that were incredibly successful at the then G5 level. And in year one, yields immediate results. Was immediately one of the most lovable coaches because of his attitude and his confidence. And then all offseason, there was the heel turn. There were taking shots at the SEC scheduling, which provably and factually incorrect with his assessment. Then takes all the Power 4 non-conference games off the schedule, is scheduling your local junior college or community college. I accused him of being an FCS merchant earlier this year, and then they have number 9 Illinois at home, and they didn't just beat them. It wasn't like you won a close, hard-fought game. You beat them 63-10.
Beat them down.
And what he said after the game, he said they broke their will.
He said that.
He said that. If we had time, I'd play the clip. But he said that. Curt Cignetti said, we broke their will. And that goes way too hard. At some point this week, I had to give him a winner.
He deserves it.
Earned.
I'm going to give a winner to Stephen Pearl because you, sir, are the head coach of Auburn all of a sudden.
You better not ask Bruce for anything for Christmas this year.
No, you have never been a head coach before. No, you've only been an assistant for your daddy. But guess what? You woke up yesterday and you was like, me?
I'm the head coach at Auburn? I'm Ron Burgundy?
Nepotism.
Winner.
Always a winner.
The reason he got to play SEC basketball was because he got to play at Tennessee because his dad's the coach.
Hey, Steven, where'd you play basketball? Tennessee. Oh, who's the coach? It's funny. I'll have some connection there. Wow, interesting. Hey, Steven, you were an assistant coach where? Tennessee and all. Huh. That's fascinating.
Oh, who is under who? I mean, to say he's a Bruce Pearl disciple would be really kind of, I guess, kind of underselling it.
Nepotism. Always a winner.
What a wild tweet reading that was yesterday when that came up on my timeline. Like, Bruce Pearl retiring? Oh, well, I know who's the head coach now. Right. Classic, do this a month before the season to get your guy the job. Tony Bennett with Ron Sanchez. Bo Ryan with Greg Gard. Well, now Bruce Pearl's doing it for his son. Nepotism. Winner of the day. That's all we have. Jack Veltri and Tyler Head, the extra point. That's next.